and also afterward. These three small words in the book of Genesis act like a bridge spanning across the greatest catastrophe in human history. The biblical text presents the flood as a catastrophic judgment on a world filled with violence and corruption, though the exact geographic scope of this event remains a subject of ongoing debate. Yet right there in the middle of the story, the author leaves a breadcrumb that changes everything. It says the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. For those tracking the seed war, those words are a signal. They mean the rebellion did not drown in the deep. The shadow was coming back. When the waters finally receded and the world began again, a name started to appear in the ancient records: the Rephaim. The biblical text describes them as a physical race of giants living in the north, in the regions of Ashtaroth and Edrei. Their most famous leader was a king named Og of Bashan. But the Rephaim weren't just a memory in the Bible. The Ugaritic tablets describe a group called the RP'UM as deified royal ancestors, warrior kings of the netherworld who were summoned during royal rituals. While the people of Ugarit worship these beings as protectors, the biblical text remembers them as an ancient enemy that stood in the way of God's people. Because of these associations with both physical warriors and underworld spirits, one interpretation suggests the Rephaim were beings that effectively belonged to both worlds, guarding the gates of the land with more than just spears and shields. If the flood was meant to be the end of all flesh, how did these giants return? The Bible never gives us a single clear answer, but ancient traditions have spent centuries trying to fill the gap. One perspective points to a second-incursion, the idea that additional spiritual rebels repeated the original crime, crossing the divine firewall to start a new line of hybrids after the flood. The Ark-family carrier theory proposes a different path, suggesting that Nephilim genetics were carried onto the boat through the wives of Noah's sons. It is also possible that certain giants survived geographically, perhaps finding refuge on high mountain peaks or within supernatural safe havens provided by dark angels. Beyond biological survival, it is possible that Nephilim simply became a cultural label, a terrifying nickname given to any unusually tall or fierce warrior clan. Others look at the report of giants as a product of fear, an exaggerated account by scouts who were simply overwhelmed by what they saw. There is also the possibility that the mechanism was intentionally left unexplained to keep our focus not on the biology, but on the war itself. These theories are not all equally supported, and each one leaves us with as many questions as answers. When we look for physical proof, the evidence refuses to agree. The biblical text famously describes Og's bed, a massive iron bedstead over 13 feet long. While this certainly sounds like the furniture of a giant, some researchers believe it actually refers to a megalithic stone tomb, or dolmen, which were common in that region. This massive object does not establish Og's exact height, only that the memory of his stature was gargantuan. Similarly, in the book of Numbers, the scouts sent to explore the land claimed they felt like grasshoppers next to the people of Canaan. However, the text explicitly calls their story an evil report, suggesting their fear might have blurred the facts. Archaeology has uncovered massive fortifications at sites like Hebron, demonstrating a level of social organization and engineering that was far ahead of its time. Yet, the evidence has not confirmed the existence of 10-foot biological giants, as confirmed remains of such beings have not been established by modern science. We are left with a world of massive ruins and even more massive legends. The Seed War interpretation argues that the return of the giants was no accident. It was a strategic occupation. The biblical story places these giant clans within and around the very territory Israel was commanded to enter. In this view, the spiritual rebels knew exactly where the land of destiny was located. They weren't just living there. They were waiting in ambush to block the seed of the woman from ever reclaiming the earth. As the 12 spies finally reached the hill country of Hebron, they didn't just find a city, they found a blockade. Waiting for them were the 3 sons of Anak, Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai. The scouts realized that the shadow had somehow returned after the waters, and now it was standing directly in their path. How did the shadow return after the waters, and why was it waiting exactly where Israel was commanded to go?